Be with us here on eNCA in just a couple of days from now. We're all getting ready for the local government elections. I'm Gareth Edwards.
And now a lot coming up, including the conversation we're having with our colleague Rofhiwa Madzena around voter apathy. Gareth, quite important because in exactly 5 days' time we know that many people will be queuing up to vote, but equally so, many are still undecided.
Yeah, they decided they actually don't want to. They're not sure who they want to vote for. And perhaps more worryingly, Rofhiwa, good morning to you as you stand there with our very fancy video wall here. Just in time for elections, I love this. That wall looks spectacular for elections, especially with the kind of data that you're mining. So as Toom says, you've got voters who are undecided. I spoke to Lukhona Nguni earlier. It's also about voter apathy, isn't it?
That's right. So let me give you some scary stats here. About 40 million people are eligible to vote in South Africa. 14 million of those are women, and then 11 million of those are men. So that makes up just over 20 million people that are actually registered to vote. So that means 40%, guys, of people are just not bothering. And that's quite scary. We're not exercising the right to vote. But let me bring you the data that we've been unpacking with Ipsos. So 62% of South Africans are eligible and registered to vote. But are they going to actually vote? Let's take a look at that. So the two questions that were asked during that particular Ipsos eNCA survey are: how much do you want to vote in the local government elections? And also, are you going to vote? So the numbers don't vary too much there. So people want to and are willing to do so in the upcoming elections. So that's what we're seeing at the moment.
And now when we take a look at the desire and the intention, those are almost being seen as two different things, though, because people might not have the desire to even be bothered. What you also might have is the intention to vote, but then they decide towards the end there's no one to vote for.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's also the issue, isn't it?
That's right. And you are going to see this whole emergence. Earlier on in the week, we spoke about independent candidates coming up a lot more. So either people are not voting, they're voting for the same people, or they're trying out new candidates. And that's what the data is showing us, that people are a lot more open to different candidates coming into the system. But let's take a look at that data that's coming through there. So there are three scenarios that could turn out here in these particular elections. You're going to get a high voter turnout of about 83%. The medium voter turnout is particularly interesting because parties like the ANC would benefit the most from that particular turnout. And then the lower voter turnout would be the people who are going for the new independent parties coming out there, you guys.
All right. With that being said, Rofhiwa, I mean, looking at the turnout here across the province, I mean, what are we seeing there?
So let's take a look at those. So what we're seeing in this instance is that we are seeing that more men, and we'll get to the provinces in the moment, but we are seeing that more women are likely to vote than men. So women are very interested in the local communities that they reside in, as well as the services that they are getting from their particular councillors or leaders. So the likelihood of women going out and exercising their particular right to vote is higher than that of men. What's interesting with the earlier data that we showed is that men are more vocal about the performance of their local municipalities, but not necessarily acting out on that vocalness. So that's what we saw in that particular Ipsos poll.
Yeah. Right, and you were mentioning about the men and women, and now getting to the provinces. Obviously, then we get a better picture of how nationally the provinces will be looking like.
Yeah, let's take a look at those. So we've got a couple more. So we are saying that only 34% of the total population is eligible to vote. But let's update that particular data and let's show you guys the provinces that are most active here. It's very interesting, the Northern Cape, and it's very interesting because people actually are happy in the Northern Cape. It's the happiest province that people are happy living in, and it's very interesting. It doesn't necessarily get all the services that they want, but people are the most happiest there. So you'll see a higher voter turnout in that particular province. Also the Western Cape, people very vocal about the Western Cape and the services they get there. And you guys are very familiar with Cape Sick. How do we say that word? The exit, people leaving.
The semi-great.
Yes,
semi-great
right.
from province to province.
Cape Sit. Yeah, so Brexit to Cape Sit, exactly.
How do you say that?
I don't know.
Cape Sit.
So that's Cape Sit, yeah. So that being a big thing that's happening now, the Freedom Front Plus partnering with those lobbyists. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the people vote there. But let me just update that for you guys. Let's take a look now at the turnout that is expected in the major metros, guys.
Yeah.
So these are very important metros that are expected here. We've got Tshwane, we've got Johannesburg, and we've got Nelson Mandela Bay. And it's not that big of a turnout. People will be voting, but not a lot of them as would be anticipated.
Now, before we let you go as well, it's the $1 million question, or actually it's the 15 million vote question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Before we say goodbye, and I'm loving how we're unpacking this as far as metros. I suppose it's going to be about which party. Let's get down to it. Which party is going to be the most successful.
That's right, and this could get a little bit controversial, guys, but this is what the data is showing us about the party that's likely to do well in the major metros. So this is what it's currently looking like, guys. And I must just remind you all that this is the first wave of the survey that we've done. There's 2 more coming. So there are going to be updated data points that are going to be coming through, and this might change. But currently what we see now is that the most people that are going to be voting here are ANC supporters, followed by the official opposition, the DA, the EFF coming through there. But guys, look at that. Action SA, brand new party on the scene, coming up and having about 59% of the voter cohort coming out to vote.
Well, I had
That's
Herman
very, very interesting.
I had Herman Mashaba on yesterday on the show with us in studio, and I was astonished for a relatively new party how much love Herman Mashaba was getting on social media, because generally social media, people start going after politicians. It's a diatribe of criticism.
Exactly.
There was actually a lot of love for Action SA. And a couple of analysts I've had a chance to speak to are saying this could be the one party that, not necessarily kingmakers, Rofhiwa, but could upset.
Shakes things up.
Shakes things up.
So I'm going to be showing you a little bit later in the major metros how Action SA will be doing, and you guys are going to be quite surprised. They're the new kid on the block, but they have made a good impression.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. Thank you so much, Rofhiwa Madzena, giving us that picture in terms of voter apathy and some of the stats we're seeing around the country.